Hi everyone, I'm back with another review today. In this video, I would like to tell you about my impression regarding these TGX earbuds. A brief introduction, these are earbuds from the brand called TGXear. These are made by a DIYer and his name is Jim. You can contact him through Instagram or through his website tgxear.com. TGX earbuds are pretty well known in the earbuds community for their sound performance and value. So usually in terms of sound transmission, I'm way more familiar with IAM compared to earbuds, so take this impression with a grain of salt. Now with that done, let's dive into the sound impressions. I will tell you guys about my impression of these earbuds and how they will sound relatively to another. Before this video, I've been using these earbuds with my Quad Mojo with a portable amplifier as a source for more than a month. First, let's start with the red Serratus. This is the same as the original Serratus, just in the red color. It has a 300 ohm impedance PET driver, which makes it quite hard to drive. The reason why I'm starting with this is that this is the most famous as well as the cheapest in the TGXear lineup. Another reason is that this buds is also the easiest one for me to describe the sound of it. Therefore, would make it easier for me to compare it against the others. I would say the red Serratus has a balanced U-shaped tuning. The bass on the Serratus is really good. It has an impressive sub-bass extension for an earbuds with just enough amount of mid-bass. Quality-wise, although the mid-bass has really good texture, I feel like the impact is on a slightly soft and looser side. Overall, the bass reproduction just feels really musical and effortless with the Serratus. The mid-range is also great. It's clean, energetic, and natural sounding. It's really easy to enjoy listening to the mid-range using the Serratus. If I have to nitpick though, I would say the male vocal is a little bit on a thinner side and the overall mid-range is just a little bit recessed due to the boosted bass and treble. Treble-wise, the Serratus has a high treble presence and air. Personally, I'm really digging this even when I'm using donut foams. Although, I have my friend described it as a screeching banshee, so the treble is definitely not for everyone. I especially enjoy those hi-hats and percussion parts of the songs using the Serratus, which has to do with the decay of the instruments and the Serratus just bringing in all those micro details and micro nuances. As for the technicalities, the Serratus has the widest soundstage I've heard from the earbuds, although the depth and height is quite average. Center imaging and instrument separation are just as impressive. The timbre is also good. I would say the Serratus is suitable for those large orchestra type of music with its unique presentation. Next in the lineup, I would like to compare the Serratus against the Totem. This earbud here has a 700 ohms beryllium driver. Although it has 700 ohms of impedance, it is only a little bit harder to drive compared to the Serratus. Jumping from the Serratus, the Totem has a very different type of tuning. The Totem has a neutral tonality leaning towards the mids and treble centric. Compared to the Serratus, Totem bass is definitely less in quantity, yet it feels tighter and faster. Serratus bass sounds more hollow in comparison. Mid-range wise, the mid-range and vocal of the Totem has a slight warmth to it, even though it doesn't have that large amount of bass. Mid-range are more forward compared to the Serratus. Vocal are euphonic, lively, and not too pronounced and just overall beautiful. As for the treble, the Totem takes it on another notch compared to the Serratus. Although the Totem has less treble presence, meaning it's not as bright, the treble just sounds smoother overall with less of that haziness that comes from the Serratus. Hi-hats and cymbals just sounds less emphasized and a bit softer compared to the Serratus. The stage presentation is also very wide, although it's not as wide and airy as the Serratus, but it has more depth and height, which makes it sound very holographic. Imaging and layering, however, is a little bit blurry from front to back, but that doesn't take away the enjoyment from the Totem. The macro dynamics are the best from the Totem out of these four, in my opinion. Although I would say the micro dynamics are more or less on par with the Serratus. The third TGXear I would like to talk about is the Sunniva. This one has a 180 ohms beryllium driver. As for the sound impression, I don't like this as much. It's not a bad earbud in the grand scheme of things, I just don't enjoy it as much as four of these. It has a bassy neutral tonality. The first thing that strikes me with the Sunniva is how thick and bassy it is. The quantity of bass is there, but the quality is not up to par. It's on a more uncontrolled side, although the texture is not that bad. The bass has more slam and sounds muddier with a longer decay than the Serratus. It doesn't feel as effortless coming from the Serratus. As for the rest of the frequency, mids and treble of Sunniva are overall very balanced and smooth. Mid sounds lush and full, and male vocal sounds deep with a decent weight and authority behind them. Female vocals, although it's energetic, but due to the lower bass bleed, they will sound a little bit husky and less clear at times. Treble is of high quality. It has lesser quantity but sounds smoother than the Serratus. However, there is this one problem. With how the bass was done on the Sunniva, I can't help but feel like it's either coloring or masking over the rest of the frequency. There is this sense of view or contrasted to the midrange and the treble. It feels like the bass is hindering the midrange and the treble quality to come through. The overall presentation feels more intimate compared to the Serratus and the Totem. Resolution, although is really good, but it's also another thing that got affected by the bass. Imaging and layering are also good, but it's not really a standout point of the Sunniva. For the Sunniva, I would enjoy those tracks that either has a lot of bass like EDM, drumming tracks, or those tracks that has very little amount of bass so that it would not hinder the mids and treble to come through. If I were to listen to the Sunniva for a long time and do some brain burning, I can see myself enjoying this. But if I change from the Sunniva to the Serratus or the Totem, I will remember why I didn't like the Sunniva in the first place. I don't hate warm or lush, like slight bleedy type of sound. I have my Pennon cereal right here and I'm really loving it. I just don't particularly vibe with the Sunniva, that's all. I did try to do the foam mod by using the foam inside the EA500 DIY kit, but the changes aren't that drastic. The base amount of Sunniva did come down a little, but that warm view feeling is still there. As for the TGX finale, I bring you the Desolation Sound. I would like to describe the sound profile of the DS as neutral with a bass boost. The bass is definitely elevated with a decent amount of mid bass. It slams hard, has good texture, but it's also bleed a little bit into the mid-range. Male sounds full, lush and natural. Female vocals is expressive yet not shouty. Piano, wind and string instruments are really lifelike and organic. Treble-wise, overall it sounds quite detailed with good amount of brilliance, but for some reason it sounds a little bit grainy or uneven for me. Now, coming from the Totem, I wouldn't expect a full-blown upgrade with the DS, and honestly, it's not. The DS just feels different compared to the Totem. Both have natural timbre, but the DS sounds more analytical and sharper compared to the Totem. Bass doesn't hit as hard on the Totem. Mid-range and then vocal sound extremely good on both sets, but the Totem just edged over the DS ever so slightly due to a cleaner lower mid-range and smoother upper mid-range. The Totem just sounds more emotional and forward. As for the treble, both of these earbuds sound good, but the Totem sounds more excited, with more brilliance to my ears. The Totem has a better macro dynamics, but the DS has better micro dynamics. Both have very good soundstage to the point I'm having a hard time comparing, but I would say the Totem has slightly less depth compared to the DS. Compared to the Sunniva, that view and congested feeling is completely gone with the DS. The bass on the DS is definitely more well done. The DS sounds clearer, brighter, less thick, with a more correct timbre and more balanced tonality. Soundstage on the DS is also wider with better sense of layering. Comparing DS to the Serratus definitely sounds leaner and thinner, although the Serratus has more extended subbass. Soundstage-wise, the DS has a similar width, maybe a bit smaller, but the DS definitely has a better depth and height. Overall, the DS just feels more holographic compared to the Serratus. Timbre on the DS also sounds a tad more natural to my ears. So that's it. That is my sound impression for the 4 TGX earbuds that I managed to get my hands on. Thank you for staying till the end of the review. If you have any question, let me know down in the comments. I'll see you guys again in the next video. Bye.